Are live, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on, man? You are here joining the hope. Yeah, hold on. Let me slow down. I'm a little too excited because we're ending season two. There's a lot to talk about. It's a big finale. So let me pull it back a little bit. I know I come with tempo, so I'm talking too fast. I'm going to slow it down for everybody. Okay, so let me start this again. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome everybody to the Sports is My Love Language podcast. And I'm here with my crew. I'm really excited about today because this is the season finale of season two. We've been doing this for 2 seasons now, man. This is season two finale. That's why I'm coming in hot, man. I feel real good about the show. Um, I saw that my guys put in a lot of effort in the pre-production. I love the topics they came up with. I think that everybody here is going to be really interested. So we're gonna get it started. Right. First of all, let me introduce everybody. As usual, we got my man Petey Pablo, aka El Schefter. We got my man Major Money in the house. My man Dre.
Yeah,
We got a Colombiano, aka Javito, and he's
yeah.
there. He's just kind of in the middle of something. We got our man AK. We're all here and ready to go. We're ready to rock. Man, this is season finale, season two, and we are the Sports is My Love Language podcast.
Yeah.
Let's go. All right, big show, big show. We got some. What do you call it? The first thing we're gonna do is let's wrap up. Let's put a little bow, right, on the NBA season. I think we could
Yes,
all
sir.
agree it was a phenomenal season. I think it was fantastic. What do you call it? I saw a lot of new superstars emerge. I see that the league is in really a healthy condition. It's going to be great condition post LeBron. You know what I mean? Which was a lot of people's concern. Oh, what's going to happen? I think they're in great hands. But before we do that, let's talk about the NBA Finals. And for that, I'm going to lead off with my man Dre, because as y'all know, he was definitely the Golden State Warrior fan of the crew. Go ahead, Dre. What you got?
Well, man, I'm happy for the Warriors, man. I called that we were gonna win this season early because we started 18-2 with no Klay Thompson. Those guys are battle tested in the playoffs. They know how to slow stuff down and play through tough situations. So I just had my money on them, man. But I can't say that throughout the season my pick didn't get tested a bunch of times. I even, as a Warrior fan, started saying at one point that Miami was looking like they could win it. I was saying that Giannis was looking like he could win it. I was saying that Phoenix was looking like they could win it. So it's not like we went the whole season uh, head above everybody else as far as performance and stuff like that. It was kind of tough. The playoffs, I feel like we kind of stole it a little bit because we didn't have to see Phoenix. I feel like that individual matchup would have been a tougher one for us than it was for Dallas. For some strange reason, I just feel like they would have gave us more problems than than they gave to Dallas. Um, and then also, I was telling Pablo yesterday, I feel like we kind of escaped by not having to play either KD or Giannis in the finals. But Pablo was telling me a good point about the way the Bucks defend the three-pointer. They kind of let you shoot threes, so they probably would not have been the best matchup for the Warriors. But I'm happy for Steph, man. He's on number 4 now. Happy for Klay Thompson. Just came back right into another ring. He barely ever loses. Um, and just happy for my team, man. It's the future is looking better than this year looked, if I can say that.
I like it. What do you call it? I know a couple of you guys. Pablo, what was your thoughts on the finals? What did you see? I know a lot of guys were going Boston. They weren't sure. It was close. What did you see? What was your wrap up takeaway from?
So it was good. It was good to see that, Steph had not one but two signature games where his imprint was on it, which was obviously games 4 and 6, right? And and he was getting all this, talk about, well, he hasn't won the Finals MVP and blah 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 blah. So it was good. It was good that especially towards the back half of that series, that he kind of put his name on that, closeout. But I also see it as Boston lost an opportunity. It wasn't like Golden State was in full control of the series, even with Steph having good games here and there, and then he had a terrible game, and an opportunity was lost for them to take a game. Their number one guy, I guess is going through. I call it growing pains. He went through growing pains. He is really very talented. You could see the talent is there. You could see the talent to be an elite level guy. But maybe right now, maybe just mentally, or maybe the moment was too big. I mean, it could be one of many things or a bunch of things. He didn't seize the opportunity when they were there. Having bad fourth quarters, shooting like 30% or something like that overall, and for the series, and it was a missed opportunity for a team that talent-wise has what it takes to win a title. You've got two really good players, 2 stars on your team, 2 all-stars on your team, a really good supporting cast that can give you other things offensively, and then you have one of the best defenses in the league out there. And yeah, you could say that that Boston, Robert Williams wasn't 100%, and but you know what? At this time of the year, both teams probably had guys
that guy could play. That guy could play some defense, man.
So, but overall, I'm glad to see Golden State, win the title. I almost consider it a dynasty. 4 finals in the last, 4 titles within the last 8 years, almost a dynasty. Maybe if it was like 4 out of 6 or something, I might call it a dynasty. But and they're going to be perennial contenders the next couple of years. It's not going to be easy though, and we'll get to that in our next segment in terms of what they're going to have to face next season. But
you won't give them the asterisk, Pablo, for the 2 years that everybody was all hurt and shit.
No. I mean, what am I supposed to give him
grade?
What am I supposed to give him?
Not credit. I just said the asterisk. I didn't say credit.
No, injuries are part of the game. You lost your second best player. There.
But the way
Steph was hurt. So
the way that one happened against Toronto, and then the season that we won 15 games, I'm not even judging the end of that season into the next season.
I can't give an asterisk to the whole dynamic of the team the past few years. It's not a huge deal to me. They are what they are. We know when they're healthy, they're one of the best teams in the league, and they've got the young core with their 3 veterans, and they got a good young core there. So they're gonna be hard to beat next year.
Akil, what are your thoughts? What do you take away from the NBA Finals?
I don't think Boston's a championship-ready squad. I don't think they have the depth and the bench to be able to come off to be able to provide those scoring punches when their starters and their stars are not performing. I think that their main star is still growing into his role. So I've seen people in that stage of their career make the finals. It's really rare that they win the finals. I think that they wouldn't have come out of the East if they didn't get lucky with injuries, which I understand that happens. But, Milwaukee went 7 games without their second best player. I think the Warriors had the best team this year. I don't think the Warriors would have won last year or the year before, even with Clay, because I don't think they had the depth that they have this year. Jordan Poole came into his own. They could play different players off the bench.
He found himself,
but like Kuminga, who didn't even contribute, but they had depth. Right? Like they had depth. They had a good starting 5. I think people forget, like, getting Durant still helped the championship, because they wouldn't have got Wiggins on a max contract if they couldn't do a sign and trade for D'Angelo Russell, which ended up. So even him leaving, they obviously didn't have KD, but it led them to a player who played the 3 that was arguably the second best player in the series for them. So I think that Golden State has a heck of a chance next year, but I'm not penning them in as a champion by any means. Like,
of course not.
Next year's going to be, I think, a lot harder. But that being said, I think they were the best team this year. I think they ran into a Memphis squad that lost John Morant and was young. They ran into a Boston squad that was young. Like, this is not their fault. They don't need to get penalized for it. They played who they play. But I think that, like everything in life, I think there's got to be a little luck involved. And they had that little bit of luck involved. And that doesn't happen every year. You don't know what's going to happen. I don't know that Clay is the player he was. Like, there's not a lot of teams that could have withstood Clay going 1 for 9, 1 for 10 to begin those games, things like that, without falling in a hole. So you got to give Clay props. He ain't scared, and he shot his way out.
Right.
You know what I mean? But my perspective on what happened was it was like a perfect storm for Golden State, and they came out there and they won that championship. So I give them props. But I don't think that I think there's at least a few teams that have as good a shot as them next year, assuming they can bolster their benches, they get their rosters right, and things like that. But I will say, generally, it was a fun playoffs. Like there was some lulls and there was a lot of blowouts here and there, but generally it was a fun playoffs. Unless you're a Sixers or Knicks fan and you had to see Boston play in the final.
Do you guys think that the NBA playoffs got judged on a harder curve because of how excellent the NFL playoffs were?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, it depends.
I think the measuring
I
stick
didn't
that
watch
was
the
used-
first round that much. I didn't really watch the first round of the NBA playoffs.
I'm feeling like the measuring stick that was used was, what is it going to look like without LeBron?
LeBron, yeah.
Right.
I think that's what really came home.
Right.
Everybody was
You're right.
very curious to see
Absolutely.
what is this going to look like without LeBron, because for some reason, and I'm a huge LeBron fan, but I'm not that level where it's like they feel like the league is going to fall apart without him. I look at the league and I'm like, this might have been the best thing that happened to the NBA. It gave people a chance to really see Luka on the East Coast. You know what I'm saying? It gave people a chance to really pay attention to these young guys, these teams. They let them get highlighted, because we all know if LeBron's in the game, he dominates the headline. He dominates the even the audio, and these other guys are considered secondary. They're not playing. You know what I'm saying? They're not the lead. But Avito, what are your thoughts, man? Would you come out with?
Real quick, Javi, before you go, I want to jump in one last thing. I think also the 9 p.m. starts really hurt.
Remember I said that, bro.
The casual fan is not staying up. I fell asleep through half those games, and I love
that shit killed me, man. I said the same thing. No, let's go back to that, because that's a great point. I said the same exact thing when I saw 9 o'clock. I was like, I really want to watch this, dude, but it's not up to me. It's the Sandman, bro. As soon as I started, I'm like, just nodding off, like, oh shit. Woke up. It was like the end of the fourth quarter. I was so pissed. I was like, you know what, man. I just gave up after that. I watched about a half.
But what can you do when the game's in San Francisco? Is it San Francisco? Right now they're in San Francisco.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? It's 3 hours. They're 3 hours behind. You want them to start at 5 o'clock when everybody's at work.
There's really nothing you could do.
It's kind of tough. I feel like over here when it was Eastern, they started at 8:30, so it's just really a half-hour difference.
Oh, that was on the week. Yeah, it was like on the weekend they started earlier.
They started early on the weekend, but on the weekday, I know it was like an 8:30 game, and I'm just there like, is a half hour making or breaking us? Yes, because we're older. Yes, I get it. yes, because no doubt about it, bro. Fourth quarter, I was like, damn, man, I got to work tomorrow, man, and it's
you gotta make business decisions, like shit, man.
But still, my take on this, big ups to Steph Curry, bro. You know what I'm saying? More than deserving. I kind of felt like, they kind of rigged them at one of the MVP finals. That's just my take. But, I'm happy the Golden State Warriors won it in 6 because I called it in 6. So, why can't we just give Steph Curry his props? The guy has won 4 championships. You know what I'm saying? Within the last, 8 years?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, remember when we was like, LeBron, Steph Curry has made it to 6 finals within the last 8 years, right?
75% of the time.
So, why are we not, giving him so much juice as, LeBron was given? We're talking about the greatest shooter the game has ever seen. All right. There's no doubt about it. We don't say LeBron is the greatest player in the NBA. No doubt about it. There's always debates. I don't think anybody debates that Steph Curry is the best shooter the NBA has ever seen. So I'm just trying to wonder why we're not giving him this golden trophy around his name. And I could give you the cons as to why. He doesn't always play a full season. somebody was telling me, why isn't he not like in the top 10 to score? And I go, well, because he doesn't play every game in the season. But I'll tell you one thing.
And they get taken out early too. They play less minutes when they're blowing a team out, and
which is understood, Dre. But there was I think he had like 3 seasons where he played 25 games or less.
Who, Steph did?
Yeah, Steph.
Yeah, injuries. Yeah,
injuries, obviously.
Definitely.
And
11, 12.
Because I always say, if he played those 3 seasons full, like he would have broke Ray Allen's record 3 seasons ago.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm saying. He's that great. It's just it's just sad that he's gotten injured a couple of times. But look, even when injured, the boy has won 4 championships with the Golden State Warriors. It's nothing to take away from Clay. It's not taking anything away from KD. But the main guy that has been basically riding this team to where they are, his name is Steph Curry. He's the chef.
True that.
You know what I'm saying?
Look
at this series. You take away Steph, they're a team in the lottery. You put Steph back in, and they're winning 40 games like last year. You give them a little bit of extra help. Look at what they're doing. So we got to put Steph Curry's name in there. Like you can't 6 finals in the last 8 years.
So somebody put up a meme, and they put up the top 10 players, and essentially, I don't remember if they left Curry out or they put him at number 10 or something like that. Or they basically asked the question, who do you take out?
Who would you take out? Yeah.
Right, to put in Curry.
And shout out to Carl on that post.
There you go. That was a great one. Yeah, Carl Rachi.
I take none of them out because he doesn't play anywhere near the defense any of those top 10 players play. I mean,
but I look at him like this, right? This is the only reason I'm gonna slide him in. I'm gonna slide him in because, okay, let's say he doesn't do that. Fine, I'll agree with you. But he did change the game. Anybody who I feel, right, if you can't tell the story of the NBA without this person's name, I feel like you have to be in the top 10, that immediate top 10. Because when there comes a point, right, and they talk about the transition to the 3-ball, okay, how the NBA changed, and maybe whether you feel it changed for good or it changed for bad, but it changed, right? And when you talk about that change, you have to talk about the best shooter in the history of the game, Chef Curry. You have to mention him. And because of that, I say, if I can't tell the story of the history of the NBA without his name, then he has to be. Now, here's the thing, right? I like Kobe Bryant more than I like Chef Curry, right? I do. But it hurts him that we've seen him before, in my opinion. And again,
that is a fact.
It hurts him that we've seen him before. It hurts him that he was Mike 2.0. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, that actually hurts him. So for me, if I'm going to have a 10 original pieces up, you know what I'm saying? Like a guy like Will Chamberlain, who completely revolutionized the game. The 3-second rule, all that shit's because of him, right? I have to add in a guy like Chef Curry, and I'm going to say this. Now, to the reason why I don't feel like he gets his just due on every level, why somebody wants to nitpick with him, I believe because he's always been part of that trio. And if you look in the history, right, anybody who started off and it's always been part of a trio, and you're not sure if I got a question for you. We take out Chef Curry, we plug in Kevin Durant. Do they still win?
No.
I think on absolutely.
I think they win by double figures.
I don't.
Because you know what I'm saying? Like, because now you also have a
not in the Warriors.
And on top of that, his offensive game is legit.
Why not in the Warriors system?
Definitely not.
Steph doesn't bring it up anyway.
Kevin Durant doesn't move around and get 40 shots for his team like Steph does every game, bro. There's no chance that the Warriors function the same way without Steph. Not only what he does for himself, but he never stops moving and drawing attention to himself and away from other people.
And Boston will be able to defend that a lot better.
Boston showed that they could defend Kevin Durant. They swept him.
It's 5-on-5.
No, it's not. Because
with that particular system and that particular team, I don't think it's possible that anybody else.
I'll give you that. You made a really good point. The motion. the perpetual
can make
motion that
that
Curry's in,
team work the
I
way it
think does
does.
make a
Too
huge
much,
difference.
No
too much
disrespect to
ISO.
the
It's
other
too much
players.
ISO with that with Durant.
Yeah,
Um,
Durant's
Easier to
one-on-one.
defend than to
Easier
Easier
play.
to defend. Why do you think Tatum was guarding him, making him look pretty much not a star player at that time? Steph Curry makes you work. That I think we talked about this before the finals. I was like, it's going to be different for Boston to handle this team because there's so much constant motion. You know, don't get me wrong. Kevin Durant's a great player, but what Steph Curry does is that he makes you game plan for him. And once he's got you going, look, you saw it. It's a wrap.
Yeah,
He went ballistic on them. There was not one guy that could guard him. They tried it.
and even when he had his worst game in forever, he's still a factor. You still have to respect it. Even if he hit zero, if he went 0 for on threes and struggled overall, you say, oh, well, he's struggling, just leave him. No, you're not going to say that to him because if he catches fire, all of a sudden, so you still have to respect him, even if he's having one of his worst games in years. I mean, that's impactful.
I mean,
That's
who's
very
running
impactful.
that? I'll ask Akil right now. Who's running that offense then once Steph Curry's gone?
I think Draymond generally runs the offense himself. I think Steph is unreal. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's as good as
The
Durant.
best shooter that the NBA
He's not as
has
good
ever
as Durant.
seen.
I'm not saying
But
Steph is as good as
You
Durant.
guys, we keep saying something, right? We keep saying he's the best shooter in the history of the game, right? And he is. He is, right? We all agree with that.
No debating.
But do you know that in 5 years that might not be the case? You know that, right?
I think this
Trey Young. Who else?
No.
It's Trey Young.
They don't have the percentage, Mike.
No,
They won't be
They're
able to
already
be
on
up in the
pace to blow
40s.
him out the water.
no,
Nah, man.
no.
Nobody is, bro. Even with his years of injury, nobody is. Nobody's even close, bro.
Yeah, but when
Trey
he won,
Young-
every time he won, he also had the second best shooter in the entire world on the team, or in 2 cases, the second and third best shooter in the entire world on his team.
All right, so
No
let me
one
ask you.
has had
I was
300 threes in a season, and he's had 400 twice.
No, I'm not
That's
arguing.
coming.
I was watching
Hold
the
on.
game.
Let me ask you this question:
Sure.
Is Klay Thompson as good as he is without Steph Curry?
No way.
No.
All right,
This
No
is
way.
a very unique situation
But
where
that's what
I
I'm
feel
trying
like
to
they
say.
all need each other.
but
I
Steph
think
Curry
they
showed
all
you he
feed
could win
off of
4
exactly
last
what they do
year.
best.
Clay's not a dribbler. Clay's a catch and shoot
Catch and
guy
shoot.
more. So he naturally benefits off of Steph's movement.
And that's what I'm trying to say. You
Like
take
for
Go ahead.
Akil's point, if you take Steph and put him on the Nets, they get worse than they are with KD in a different system. But just for the Warriors system, I don't think there's any other player in the league that would make the Warriors better than they are with Steph. If you try to replace one player for one
I don't
player.
think there's many, but we just have a difference of opinion.
Okay, guys.
No doubt. That's cool.
We're
Two-time
talking-
MVP, bro. I don't know, man. I put him in the top 10. Take out Oscar Robertson. I never seen him play anyway.
That's
Oscar
why-
Robertson never played no
never seen him
defense
play.
anyway.
No, I'm going to say this. Okay, so we talked about Steph Curry. He's in his 30s. We talked about Draymond. We talked about Clay. They're all what you would consider seasoned veterans, right?
Right.
But this year, what we did see a lot of was a lot of young players, man. And we got a glimpse of what the future of the NBA is going to look like. We have the Dallas Mavericks picked up a center, you know what I mean, to kind of play ball with Luka. Teams are already making moves, looking around. Bradley Beal is a free agent. We have
Let's go
all
Knicks.
these different. I'm sorry.
Let's go Knicks.
Yeah, let's go Knicks. All these different.
Don't waste our time with
You know
that
what?
bullshit right there.
Let's go Knicks. Let's go Knicks.
Hey, I got
I'm
to shout out.
gonna say this. The league's in great shape, man. But next year, this whole playoff system could be dramatically different because there's a lot of teams that are just one move away. I don't know if I don't know if any of you guys read it, but my sister was down in Miami having dinner with some friends, and she was like, "Yo, Pat Riley's here with Jimmy Butler, another player, I think Udonis Haslem, and they were courting Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell was there with them. She never got back to me. I never even followed up with her.
He's under contract.
And she's like, "Yo, they're down here, whatever." And I think she didn't know who like a couple of them were, but then she like sent me like, "This guy," who she was live. She's like, this guy. I was like, "Oh shit!" I recognized Pat Riley right away. I kind of saw Jimmy Butler, and I was like, "Yo, that's Udonis," and that's I think that's Donovan.
Nice.
They might be picking up dollars. So look,
imagine that shit.
I say that to say this. There's a lot of teams making some really good moves. So I'm really interested to hear everybody's opinion, right? The NBA way too early next season predictions. It doesn't have to be who's going to win a championship, but it's going to be somebody who's improved, somebody who falls off, a team that makes it, didn't make it this year. Whatever it is, you want to go with it. But I would like to hear what your thoughts are for next year. P. Pablo, what you got?
If this team comes, if these two guys come back healthy for them, they're going to be a major factor, and that's the Clippers. If Paul George and Kawhi are healthy and play a relatively normal season, now we can't expect in today's NBA 82 games from these guys are not expected.
Yeah,
65, 75 games, right? Somewhere like around that range. That's kind of the norm now, right? That's kind of what you should be getting out of with the rest days on the back-to-backs, so something like that. But if those two come back healthy, they're going to be a major factor in the West Coast, on the West. I think Memphis will be as well, with Ja. I think experience, just growing, with experience and being successful will help. I do have a unique view overall on these, the young guys, and their confidence, versus, because I think Tatum may not be the only type of young player that is good talent-wise, but maybe mentally when the pressure is on, when that spotlight is on, maybe or maybe not they'll come through. I think there's only a couple of young guys that I think would shine that way. But I think Ja is one of those guys. I think probably Luka is one of those other guys too. I mean, there's some out there. I don't think Trae Young is that right now. So just as an example. But I think that on the West. On the East Coast, I mean, you got to expect Miami because Miami is a culture. It's not about one player. If see what they do in the offseason. I think Milwaukee, they'll get their two guys back, even though Bobby Portis is he exercised his option, so he's going to be a free agent. I think this time, I don't think Milwaukee's going to be able to sign him back. I don't know what that hot mess in Brooklyn is right now. And I'm not even talking about Kyrie. I'm talking about the other knucklehead, Ben Simmons, Akil's boy. What are they going to get out of him? And they're looking to trade. They're looking to move Joe Harris because he could be a good trade piece, maybe to bolster some depth or something else in another position. Who else in the East? And we'll see what happens with Harden and Philly. Like, I think there's so many questions on the East Coast because of non-basketball things than basketball things on the Eastern Conference, where in the West, it's just a bunch of teams that are loaded, right? Jamal Murray will be back. And who's the other guy on that team with him? Another good player. It'll come to me probably later.
MVP?
No. Jokic, and then there's Murray, and then there's another guy on that team that's also pretty good.
Michael Porter?
Yeah.
But he's got like back issues, man.
I know, but I mean, for number 3,
Yeah, no,
but,
I mean, don't get me wrong. If he could stay healthy and stay as a number 3, yeah, that's another.
But that's what I'm saying. If they can get their guys back, because Jokic was carrying them all year by himself, basically, right? Yeah. They can come back. So I think there is just loaded from top to bottom, right? On the West Coast, and the East Coast is just a hot mess. But for now, I think Milwaukee will be up there, Miami will be up there. I think Boston will be up there. I think this experience, this finals experience, the playoff run overall, I think will help them mature better in terms of those late season situations because they'll be a playoff team. My Bulls, I got to see what happens if they get Levine back. I know they're looking to trade Vucevic, supposedly, but they're still middle of the road team, so I don't know if they can make a leap forward or not. But I still think some of the similar teams we saw there will probably be back. I don't know about Phoenix, man. I don't know. They might drop a little bit.
Pablo? I'm glad you said that because I was going to lead my whole thing with Phoenix.
They're going to lose.
I think Phoenix topped out.
Yeah,
they're just losing their all-star center. They're going to lose Ayton.
They're going to lose Ayton, and Chris Paul is just he's 37 years old, 38. I mean he can be a leader, but I don't know about skill sets the way he was in the past. And Devin Booker to me is one of those guys, almost like Tatum-ish, man. Like, you're good, but bro, you ain't there yet up here. Another trainee by Kobe. Maybe it's just that they're trying to live up to a standard or people are trying to hold them to a standard.
They don't realize what comes with
that. Yeah. So, but I think for me, over the West, it'll be the Clippers. I think the most dangerous team out there overall in the NBA next season.
Akil, what are your thoughts? Who you got?
I think it's going to be exciting. I think the East are going to have a good, solid 5 or 6 contenders, depending on how the rosters play out. I think the West is still going to have the Clippers is a great point. I think Pablo hit the nail on the head. They could be really nasty if they get their squad together. I think the Suns. Look, as long as you have a young and growing Devin Booker, you have a young and growing Bridges, you have a little bit of bench help with Johnson. I think they're going to be completely fine. I understand that Paul is getting older, and maybe they won't make the finals. Maybe they won't make the conference championships, but they're going to be up there and they're going to contend during the season, no question in my mind. If you lose Ayton, they're going to flip it. They're going to get something there that may not be exactly as good as Ayton, but maybe it'll be a little cheaper, and then they can add some more help on the fringe. So I think the Suns will be fine. I think the Warriors will be a good team again. Who knows what the Lakers are going to be? I mean, if you have a healthy AD and LeBron, the way he played this year, that they're going to be tough, no matter who you had. But I'm really excited about the Eastern Conference. I'm excited to see what the Nets will do, how they'll look as a full team. I'm excited about what are the Sixers going to do. I suspect there's going to be some roster turnover. Milwaukee's going to be back healthy. You have younger teams that are growing into it. I think Memphis did a little bit of what Golden State did in that, like, look at the guys they have and where they were drafted aside from Ja. Desmond Bane, I think, was a second-round pick. I mean, you got guys who really are coming into their own and are balling. And so I think that I think it's going to be an exciting year. If I have to pick a finals, I mean, it's hard to go against Golden State. They got young guys coming up. I don't know what Clay's going to look like. I'm curious. So I'll say, the Clippers or Warriors on one side, and then I'll say I don't think Boston's making the finals next year. I could be way off on this, but I'd say
everything has to fall right for them to make it.
Bucks, Heat, or Sixers if the Sixers really do something on the turnaround and Harden gets his act together. But yeah, I'm excited for next year. I think there's a lot more parity in the league when you don't have that Jordan or LeBron. And again, that's where I don't think Steph or even Ja Morant or even Jokic or Embiid right now are that guy. Maybe Durant's not even. So, I think it's wide open. And I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to seeing where Beal goes. Does Mitchell go to the Heat? Like, all these things could really shake up the season next year. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the Eastern Conference more specifically.
Nice. Dre, what you got?
I agree with basically everything that Pablo and AK just said, but the Warriors are winning the championship again next season. If we go on what they go by every year, which is that you respect the champ until somebody proves that they can beat them over and over again, with the upside that we have, there's no way, unless people just don't want to see Steph get 5. Excuse me. I don't think it's possible that we lose next season. Kuminga's going to play a lot more during the season. Jordan Poole's going to play a lot more. Steph and Clay's going to play more. Steph's going to get rest. Draymond, depending on Wiseman, Draymond's going to be able to split minutes more. Looney's coming into his own. The Warriors, in case anybody didn't know, sold a piece of their arena to raise $500 million for the run that they're about to go on right now. So they don't care about luxury tax. They don't care about signing everybody. They're giving themselves a 3-year window to see how many championships they can win. And I honestly think, I'm not going to go crazy and say we're going to win multiple. But I think next year we have the best shot to go back and win it again. Besides that, in the East, I think Giannis wants revenge. I think KD, the media is going to talk him into playing better with all the Steph comparisons and why he shouldn't have left and all of that other nonsense. Kyrie, who knows, along with Ben Simmons. That's why I'm not sure about the Nets. Miami should be good again. Philly should be very good. The Clippers are going to be good if those guys come back healthy because Ty Lue's a great coach and he'll be able to get the best out of the situation over there. Denver, like Pablo said, and AK, if they get Porter back and Jamal Murray comes back, Jamal Murray is a problem. I don't know if anybody remembers his last playoff performance. He was inspired, man. I don't know where that came from, but it was like every time you had to watch him. So I'm excited for him to come back to see what he's like, because along with Clay, he's in the 600 days of not playing basketball as well, right?
Yeah, it's been a
Yeah,
long, it's
it's
been
been a
almost
long
2
time.
seasons
So
worth.
who knows what's going to happen with him? I don't have any faith in Utah, and I don't really have faith in Phoenix. Like AK said, I feel like Mikal Bridges got exposed. Feel
Yeah.
like he was a good defender in the regular season because it wasn't a half court defense. It was like use your athleticism and
A lot of
track back
transition.
to the wing. Uh, I feel like if Aiton is gone, then Phoenix is definitely going to take a step back, because I don't see Chris Paul being able to rise to even the standard that he was at this season. I see him falling off a little bit. So Phoenix, I don't see them anywhere close to the finals. I'm going to predict my East and West finals. I think it's going to be Milwaukee and Philly in the East, and I think it's going to be the Warriors and the Clippers in the West.
You just made
Not
AK
predicting
real
any
happy.
winners yet. Nah, Philly's up, man.
Yeah.
Be all right.
Philly's up.
I think they'll be all right. Javito, what do you got?
Javi's picking the Knicks.
Knicks in 4, baby. Knicks in
No
4.
way.
But anyways, I got to give a shout out to Philly. I was there on a layover. I had a Tony Luke's cheesesteak sandwich. And then
Nice.
and which one's the other one? I killed the South Street. Is it South Street cheesesteaks? Is it?
Yeah, you got Jim's, you got Tony
No,
Luke's.
but I did Tony Luke's on the first layover. And then when I was coming back, I had another, I think it was South Street cheesesteaks. They suck. Go Tony Luke's. Anyway, so let me talk about the NBA, because I love basketball. Anyway, obviously the draft is coming, and I know there's really just one guy that the Knicks want, and his name is Jaden Ivey, right? And if they could find a way to move up in the draft, you know what I'm saying, and pick him up, I think that would be great, because I honestly felt he was probably one of the best college basketball players I saw this past season. But anyways, besides that, I'm hoping the Knicks just make the playoffs. I'm not going to be that idiot and say Knicks are going to win a playoff game or anything. I just want them to make the playoffs. I just want them to start being consistently in the playoffs. Can I get to that point first with the Knicks? That's all I want. But going back, I think the Warriors will make it to the finals next year, because it's like what Dre said. They got players that are going to be playing a little bit more next year, and they're going to get better, like Kuminga, like a Wiseman, right? They had Kevin Looney starting at center. He's not supposed to be their starting center. It's supposed to be Wiseman, and who knows what they do in free agency, because Iguodala's out, so they might just pick up another piece knowing that, hey, this is a championship-ready squad, so somebody, that's out there that I can't think off the top of my head that might be looking for a ring, might just say, hey, this is my chance. Let me go to the Warriors right now, And as far as the Clippers, very good, but I'm starting to doubt Kawhi Leonard with his health. He hasn't shown it. He hasn't shown it more. He's already won 2 championships. I get it, but I feel like he's more hurt than Steph Curry now.
That's a good point.
And I'm just not too sure if he's going to be capable to basically handle the whole season, because he was one of those that needed what was it? He needed games off. Load management.
Was the
phrase. Yeah, was the phrase. So with that load management, him coming off another injury, coming back to this season, how many games has he played to build that chemistry with the Clippers? Because regardless, you still need that chemistry, being the main player as well. We saw LeBron, this past season dealing with injuries. They couldn't create chemistry with him, even back on the court, after so many games being injured. So I'm just not too sure about the Clippers right now. Yes, they could be a top 3 team there, but right now I'm just not feeling Kawhi Leonard's body's going to give him that. As far as the Phoenix Suns are concerned, you're absolutely right, Pablo. He's like a Jason Tatum to me with Devin Booker. He'll give you 41 game, and then all of a sudden you're just there like, what happened to the guy that just scored 40 the last game? And that's what I questioned about Jason Tatum. So let me flip it to the East. Again, I don't think the Celtics make the finals if there's a healthy Milwaukee Bucks team. I just don't see it. It took them 7 without Middleton. Middleton makes the Bucks better offensively and defensively. I mean, the Celtics were they shot the three lights out, and that's how they won it the last 2 games. They just didn't miss. You know what I'm saying? But you put in a Chris Middleton that makes you put more effort on the defensive side for a Boston team. I just don't see them beating them. And as far as the Heat is concerned, you know, to me it's Jimmy Butler and everything else. You know, they're a good coach team, but you still need those players that could step up during crunch time. And the only one that stepped up during crunch time was Jimmy Butler. You know, Bam didn't do it. Tyler Hero looks like he shrinks when it's time to do it. I know he had an injury, but even the first game, you know, it was the first quarter, and after that, nada. You know, I'm not gonna give too much on what's his name on the point guard.
Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Lowry. He's not the same anymore. Yeah, he gives you effort. You know, to me, he's like Marcus Smart. You know, a lot of effort, but you just don't know what you're gonna get out of them offensively. You know, so you know, the Bulls, I don't see them being that much better. I would agree. The Sixers, I don't believe Harden, and I never will believe in Harden, so they're not going to make it to the finals. You know, it's really to me the Bucks. You know, if the Bucks are healthy, I think they make it to the. I think they make it to the finals. Let's see what Cleveland does. You know what I'm saying? Do the young guys get better? Does Toronto get better? You know what I'm saying? Those are the guys that, because they're young. They're the young ones that are coming up, you know. But other than that, I just see the Eastern Conference to me is the Bucks. You know, healthy. I just don't see any team right now that could beat them.
Okay, so after thinking about this, right, one of the teams that I saw make a move, and I'm really interested to see if this is just the tip of the iceberg, because I thought that they caught a glimpse of what could have been. All right, and it's the Dallas Mavericks. I feel like they caught a glimpse of what could have been had they had a couple of pieces around Luka, right? Now, they brought this kid in from Houston. I think it's Wood's last name? Center?
Wood.
They brought him in, right?
That's a solid move for them.
Right. And I think my question is this what they're trying to reproduce is what they thought Porzingis was going to be? You know what I'm saying? An athletic big that could play inside and out and can pop out and take the shot and take some of the pressure off of Luka, right? The other thing I heard is that they're looking for a true point guard. I don't know how much that's going to help them because I know Luka needs the ball in his hand. So I don't know. I don't really understand the game enough to understand how a true point guard is going to help them.
Man, that's odd. That's odd that they would be.
Yeah, they were talking about, they need a true. I'm like, I don't see.
Well, somebody's saying that they need a true point guard, or
no? Some of the analysts were talking about, because Luka, the wear and tear,
that wouldn't work,
and he doesn't take care of himself, and he's going to need somebody to bring the ball up, take some of that. I'm like, I don't see that. This guy plays with the ball in his hand, bro.
A backup,
what he does need is
a backup point guard.
He's got to stop eating barbecue. Is what he needs
to be able to get the ball inside, pop it back out to him. You know what I'm saying? Something to take some pressure off him, or whatever. So I thought they look like a team that's already making early moves and examining and really studying their situation. So it wouldn't surprise me if next year they made some waves. All right.
You know what? There was another team I think that will be a factor. I think as they grow together one more year, the Timberwolves.
Oh yeah, they're athletic. They just got a squad around them, boy.
Don't be fooled by the Timberwolves, Pablo.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, they were a players. I'm not saying they're going to be the top seed.
I think that Edwards is the truth, though. I agree with you.
That's what I'm saying. And I think he's going to become their number one, and Cat is going to eventually realize I'll be the number two. You know, because Cat
he's going to be the Middleton.
I try to support Cat because he's a Jersey guy. Like I try, but he's so suspect, bro.
That's what I'm saying, but I think Edwards will become the guy there, and then I think maybe that will help them, kind of shift. I mean, they're saying they're going to be a 7 seed. I'm not saying that. Maybe they could be a 5 seed next year and be a better factor.
And I also think that Luka Doncic is one of the best players in the world, hands down. But that team got so lucky to go that far too, man. Like they're not that good. They don't have the horses, and I don't think Christian Wood changes that. Maybe Beal goes. Maybe he can do something though.
Yeah, I think
Beal is
that's
the
what they
biggest.
were in agreement about.
Yeah.
They're a
Beal.
piece away.
You
They don't
guys
have-
know
They don't have
the
draft
Mavericks.
picks.
The Mavericks played the whole playoffs without the guy they paid the second most in Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah, that's true. But he's a fifth best player in your championship team at best anyway.
But he could be that
But no,
guard that
not
they
the way
need
they
to help
not
Luka.
the way they paid him. They paid him like
No.
they, like they
That's
say
like
Mark
Beal.
Cuban's smart with his millions.
I think
He don't
Beal
just
would
give
fit in
them
Dallas.
away.
I think
You
Beal
know
would
what's
fit in
weird?
Dallas easily.
You know what's weird? Like that Christian Wood, this is gonna be like his 7th team in like 9
Yeah.
years. You
But
know,
that's
like-
fine, man, because look at JaVale McGee.
Yeah, but JaVale McGee is not supposed to be your second best player like they're thinking Christian Wood's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think he projects as the second
I don't think
best.
that's what they're looking at him as.
He did well with the
So
Rockets,
who's their
but I don't
second best player?
see second
That's the thing.
Tim
They don't
Hardaway
have one.
Jr.
But right now he would be. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I think because I think in the future what they're looking at him, if had Porzingis panned out, he could have been their second best.
He
But
was
he
supposed to
wasn't.
be.
He just wasn't about it. But what they're looking at is the traits that Porzingis had. He was 7 feet. He could play inside and on the perimeter. I think those are two things that they really would like because they want to relieve some pressure off of Luka when he has the ball on
They
ball.
need another star. They could get Christian Wood. They could get Oakwood. They could get Morning Wood. They could get all kinds of wood that they want. It ain't going to give them the second.
I get morning wood all the time.
There's AK's first
Morning.
line of the night right there.
I am worried about the Suns, though. I am worried about the Suns, bro. They lost their all world center. Freaking,
You know,
he's just
World Center.
doesn't want to play there. Just doesn't want to play there. What's the
Dude,
reason behind? No, just doesn't get along. What
I
is that
normally
about?
agree with most of Dre's takes, but I so hard disagree with Bridges. Like I think it's so harsh to say that dude is a top 5 defender in the league.
He got
Not in
exposed,
the
man.
playoffs.
He was running his mouth.
It's good defense.
He was running his mouth, and he got exposed a little bit. He didn't have one game where he was like, you know what? I'm gonna hold it down this game. Every time, just like Marcus Smart stopped coming up on the picks when it was Steph on purpose because he didn't want to look bad anymore. That's what Bridges started doing, man, against the Mavericks.
Mavs.
It was terrible. I saw him lock Steph Curry and other people down, like run chasing after them. So I'm giving him credit. He's a good defender. But I'm saying, like, he was about to get paid. He finished second for Defensive Player of the Year. And then I just feel like even Mark Cuban was like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I'm not, you know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. He's great defensively. He's definitely top 5. He deserves to be on the first team all defense. But it's just like, it's like great offense beats great defense, right?
All
so,
right, guys.
like,
We're gonna start wrapping it up.
Yeah, we got to
The
go to the
NBA
next
talk. I
topic.
think we all agree that the NBA is in great hands next season. It's lining up to be a lot of stars, a lot of good teams, a lot of competition heavy. And if it's anything like it was this year, hopefully there is no LeBron in the finals, man. Hopefully there is no, you know what I'm saying? And it gets a whole brand new face again. That's what I'm hoping. Well, we're at a new age in media, and it's funny because there's a transition going on. And I think we might be in the middle of it right now. And the transition is from the old school hot take analyst that made his career in the locker rooms, going around cities, getting information, talking to people, right? And I think media is transitioning to hearing it from the horse's mouth. It's getting to the point where a lot of the athletes are now empowered. And they're saying, you know what? I'm going to take the narrative out of Skip's hands. I'm going to take the narrative out of hands. I'm going to take the narrative out of ESPN's hands. And I'm going to grab it. I'm going to shape it myself. And we saw a lot of that this year, especially with there's a lot of podcasting going on, right? That athletes are now saying, you know what, let me take control here. But they're also doing it on the big stages, on Fox, on ESPN. You know, you got guys like JJ Redick, you got the Pivot podcast, you have guys like Draymond Green. Had by far, in my opinion, the best post-game breakdowns. And I don't mean to bring this guy up because I know he's taboo to talk about, but it reminded me of something that Deshaun Watson did. No, not that. Okay. something else. Deshaun Watson one day was in front of the reporters, right?
Are we
And
back
the guy
talking about Wood
made
again?
a silly question, and he started with making hand gestures. Where if the safety's one high low and you're here, and the guy goes up, and he got really technical and really in depth about the defense that he was looking at, and half the people in the room were like, we don't know what the hell you're talking about. And I actually love it because the precursor to what we're seeing today was your Alex Rodriguez on Baseball Tonight, your Tony Romo when he does his play-by-play. Those guys that give you that inside look, or Peyton Manning when he does his show, that inside look of what you're looking for. Because even if you played high school, even if you got up to college and played college ball, right? There's a world of difference between that and then the speed of the pros. And they start to describe nuances and these little things. And that's what I personally love about the athletes snatching back the power and now, painting their own narratives about who's great, who's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're guilty of it sometimes. We'll grab a player, we'll talk about him. And what are we really doing? We're splitting hairs on his greatness. You know what I'm saying? But it's something to talk about, right? I feel like athletes are very fast to say, are you crazy? I'll give you a perfect example. Fred Taylor. Fred Taylor's on the Pivot podcast, right? And he's not in the Hall of Fame. And if you ask your average fan, right, your average fan that, has very high standards when it comes to, they'll be like, nah, he's not a Hall of Famer. Yeah, they did a survey, the Pivot podcast, they did a survey of like 150 players. Every single one of them was like, yo, if not first, he's a second ballot Hall of Famer. Based on what they know it took to achieve the numbers that he got and the type of player that he was. You know what I mean? So that kind of inside scoop, yo, I absolutely love it. I would like to know what your guys' thoughts are on this new age of media. P.D. Pablo, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so the reason I put this topic out there is because I'm starting to see this for many different reasons, and Mike, you alluded to it, to a couple of those points. So we're starting to see an active player like Draymond Green, who's playing in the NBA, giving it to you fresh off the plate, literally, right, from his perspective. We got guys like other guys that are former players, giving you, analytical and information like that, but they're also giving you their opinion, their view of it, from their perspective as players. And I think what's happening is, and in the era that I'm saying is the hot take era, it's not podcasts like ours or a regular podcast where people talk sports. I'm talking about those high-level hot take shows that are purposely saying things in certain ways, in certain manners, or with certain level of tone to get your attention. So like even we know Skip Bayless's mantra is he clutched on to LeBron at 17 years old, and he hasn't let go since. Any little thing he does, if he farts wrong, Skip is talking about it. So that's how he made his thing, right? He picks 2-3 people and that he just digs on them. He did it with Rodgers for years, and go on and so forth. Stephen A is just loud. He has connections. He has history that he's developed, but it's like professional wrestling gimmick where, like, if you know pro wrestling, a good successful character is just basically yourself with the volume turned up, aspects of you. So I'm not saying he doesn't mean what he says. He means what he says, but it's just the way he delivers it. And then Cowherd is the third one for me. Cowherd is smart though, because he tailors it to what the public want, and that's what he puts out there, whether he believes it or not. So he's got writers, so those three do it for their own reasons. So now we've got these players that are now just getting tired of just loudmouths in their view talking about it. And the other thing about it is, you mentioned the pivot, Mike. They've got people coming under that are so comfortable in talking about stuff that if there was a reporter asking them in the locker room, they wouldn't talk about it. If they were a guest on an ESPN show, they'd be very, politically correct in how they answer something. But on those podcasts, they're just like chilling. The Mike Tomlin one, right, Mike?
Fantastic.
Talking about the black head coaches and, you ask him that in a locker room, he's not going to talk like that. Not like that. And I think because there are former players having these avenues for current either players or even coaches, it's more comfortable for them to talk a little more and get more perspective than they would on this stuff. And I think that is what's going to be more interesting in time to people than just what does that fool got to say today? What crazy thing is he going to say today? What is it? Oh, Skip's going to talk about LeBron again. Okay.
What I also like is I know people hate this kid. What's his name? On ESPN, he was with JJ Redick a couple times. Said a lot of shocking shit about
But
Chris
Beverly?
Paul.
Pat
What was
Bev?
his
Yeah.
name?
Beverly, yeah.
Well, whatever. So one of those guys, right? The thing about them is these other people are talking based on what they see and speculation. And this guy's looking at you and being like, no, man, ain't nobody waking up at night to think about Chris Paul. Like, as much as that people were insulted that he said that, I found that shit refreshing. I'm like, because how many people, and maybe he was being personal about it, but there's a lot of guys that they'll say stuff and they'll be like, there's people that outside of the league have a reputation and have an image that the guys inside the league are like, no. I remember listening to I was listening to these comics one time, right? And these comics were talking about comedians that they thought were funny, right? And one of the things was, Kevin Hart, yeah, he's funny, but he's not one of the funny within the community. He's not considered one of the funny guys. But then they mentioned Bernie Mac, and they were like, "Yo, Bernie Mac was probably on a set with Martin, Eddie Murphy and whatever. He was one of the most respected guys there, right?" And it gives you that inside look that we're not privy to, and that's what I like about listening to these guys, because there's like, no, I see the work this guy puts in. Nah, man, he's a dog, bro. You guys don't know about him because you're too busy highlighting this guy. You know what I mean? Or you're too busy worried about this guy's headline. You know what I'm saying? He's doing headline catching stuff. Meanwhile, this guy over here is the one that, he's the catalyst of that team. He's the heart and soul of that team. You know what I mean? I felt like Draymond did a great job, dude. Every day, and he was honest. He was like, I played like shit. Like, basically, I played like shit. I got to do better. This is what we need to do. Da-da-da. And he did it in such a way where, people started, he's doing a podcast after. I was like, what would you rather him do? Go sit at a bar? No, he was fine with me, man. What do you guys thought? Anybody else got thoughts on the new media?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, that take on Stephen A. Smith, I mean, that's preposterous.
You have to follow it up with more big words, man.
That's preposterous. That's an abomination.
Blasphemy.
It's an abomination.
Representation of the metamorphosis of athletic prowess.
And you gotta allocute and eloquate yourself
right
much better than that.
Just because
you mean to tell me
just because he's loquacious doesn't mean he's ambiguous. Listen, I think there's value to both sides, but remember, like, the best coaches aren't former players. I think some of the best journalists are not always going to be players, right? Like, but I do think that it's evening out more. So I think there's value to that. Certainly it's evening out more. There's value to that. Players also, I think, now are taking more of an interest in post-career. What are they going to do with their lives after their sport? Where are they going to go? And media, the new media ain't Draymond Green. The new media is us and Draymond Green. The new media is that everyone can stick a camera in front of their face and say whatever they want.
That's true.
And content, and the reason why people listen to Stephen A. Smith or whoever is because of content. It's literally content, right? So, like,
the new media is all the smoke podcasts.
Exactly.
I love them.
Where you go there and chill.
It's all of those podcasts. It's all of the people you can put a microphone in front of. I still think there's going to be some semblance to the right mix being a sport guy who's played for years and is respected with a guy who studied journalism, who has experience.
I think it works. I agree with you. I think it works a lot like it works in like an NFL booth. Yeah. Like in an NFL booth where you have a what do you call it? A Tony Romo who's going to give you the inside scoop. Oh, they're going left, they're going. And then you have the guy that's like a color commentator. And he kind of keeps action moving, keeps it rolling. You know what I mean? So I definitely agree with you on that.
Real fast too. Another reason why this is so refreshing as well is because of all of the analytics that's been shoved down our throats for the past 10, 15 years. And I don't mean analytics that count, because obviously a lot of analytics matter, but the PER and all the other stuff, and eliminating the eye test and eliminating the shit that you see. I feel like that's what we're getting back now, the honesty from players, and not just the people that grade them on some algorithm that you come up with in a computer.
Avito, what are your thoughts on the new media?
I'm good. There's really nothing else to say except, you kind of want a player's perspective since they're there. but I'm not gonna take Patrick Beverly's word as
As the guy.
as it. You know,
Yeah.
like to me, you know, when I heard Pat, I'm just there like, you know, is he just trying to clown CP3? Because that's what it felt like, right?
Yeah, that's what it definitely felt like.
But you know, at the same time, I took it as comedy as well. You know, so I kind of like, I was like, I'm cool with it. You know, I'm not gonna take him serious, but at the same time, you know, it kind of felt like, you know, here we are, a pro basketball player, kind of disrespecting a guy that's gonna be a Hall of Famer. You know, so how do you take that? You know, now again, Mike was probably, yeah, good job, Pat Beverly, because I don't like Chris Paul, right, Mike? I know you was big in that, but at the same time, you kind of understand there's a difference between Pat Beverly and a Chris Paul.
Yeah, I felt like he went personal. I definitely got personal. You know what I'm saying? The only thing I thought was refreshing is that's an angle we hadn't heard. Yet, I had heard that before. I'd heard that players that played with him didn't like him. They were like, yo, he's too much. He'd rather go to dinner with the coaches than hang with the players. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. Like, oh, he's part of the NFLPA. I mean, the NBA PA Players Association, whatever. So they always felt like he had that aura about him. So for him to say, I don't like the way he said it, I think that a lot of it had, you know, personal shit with him.
Yeah.
But it's not something I hadn't heard before.
But it's real. And that's what's different about it. You know what I'm saying?
Internal affairs.
But
He's
but you know what? As real as it was, I give it to Matt Barnes too. You know what I'm saying? He called them out. You know what I'm saying?
But that's the whole beauty of it is that's
the checks and
you got
balances.
Players, you got ex-players going at it. You know, but I'm still waiting for CP3 to say something.
That's not
I like Draymond what he said about Kendrick Perkins. He just went in on Kendrick Perkins, bro. He's like, that same energy, big man.
I mean,
all right, guys.
He says it to Charles Barkley.
No, that's the best. All right. So we're going to close the show. And again, we're closing out season 2 of the Sports is My Love Language podcast. And I have a question, man. You guys came up with a really good one. And I would like to know what the audience's answer is, but as well as my crew. You're a defensive coordinator. One game to win it all. Who would you rather face? Tom Brady or Peyton Manning? Petey Pablo, who you got?
Yeah, so this question, you know, was brought up in pre-production because I had seen it. I had seen a Bart Scott that talked about it, and he said he would rather face Brady than Peyton, just straight up, as dangerous as they both are with their offenses. He said I'd rather have to try to figure out Brady and defend for Brady than he would for Manning. And I kind of agree to a certain degree. Simply because just how cerebral Peyton is with his offense and how much he can really, really read a defense. Now, again, this is one of those scenarios where we're nitpicking. We're splitting hairs, right? Because we both know how deadly both of them are, and they do it in their own unique way. But if I'm a DC and I'm preparing a defense or in-game adjustments as you're there, I mean, I think it's a bigger nightmare and a bigger headache to have to keep adjusting for Peyton than you would for Tom Brady. You know, it's almost kind of with the Patriots, you kind of not know what they're going to do, like, you know, because the Patriots always mix their game in, like, depending on who their matchups are. But you should be able to figure out to say, well, yeah, we're weak against the run, so they're probably going to attack us with the run, you know, so maybe we should prepare more. With Peyton, you're just like, fuck, bro, he can attack anything, no matter even what we do well, you know, defensively. So for me, I think, you know, put a gun to my head, however you want to put it. I'd rather have to probably take my chances defending against a Brady-led offense than a Peyton offense, and I mean that from a general perspective, just a team perspective. I don't want to hear playoff game, fourth quarter like scenarios, because then you can go different ways with both of them. Just in general, from offense to offense, I'd rather probably just take my chances dealing with a Brady offense versus a Peyton Manning offense.
Yeah, what do you got? AK, you hear us?
Can't hear you.
You're on mute.
I'd 100% rather face Eli Manning than either of those two guys. That's for sure. Well, you know, I'll say this. I'm going to give an interesting answer. I'd rather, if I'm a DC, I'd rather face Tom Brady. I'd rather not face Peyton Manning. If I'm a head coach, I'd rather face Peyton Manning. I'd rather not face Tom Brady. And what I mean by that is
I understand that completely.
that like there's different that goes into that. So I think from a pick them apart, like specifically, how are you going to game plan? It's harder to do that for Peyton because he's so accurate on top. And again, you're splitting hairs with those guys. Brady's amazing at all that. But from an overall, like, how do I make sure the timing is right? You're not getting the ball for this period of time. The ball's coming, like, just how I'm playing on the offense and everything. I think I'd rather play against Peyton than Tom if I'm the head coach. So that's my answer. Defensive coordinator, rather play Tom, though it's very close. Head coach would rather play Peyton, though it's very close.
Good take.
What you got, Dre?
Dre, what do you got?
For me, it's two things. For me, I think that I would say I would rather face Tom as well, but it was so close for me. I was going through it when I was talking about it with Pablo. I had to lean on other people's other great defensive NFL players and what they said because it was too close for me to make up my own mind. So I've heard Troy Polamalu, Ray Lewis, and now Bart Scott say that Peyton Manning is like gives you nightmares as far as preparation and what goes into preparing to face him. And I also think it has to do with that position that Bart Scott played as well, which was the position that got most picked on by Peyton Manning because he would pick on what you were trying to do and what you as the Mike linebacker would have to lead up. So it would be like him and Ray Lewis was beautiful football to watch, like the back and forth. And then eventually with Ed Reed. So I would say I would rather face Tom Brady than Peyton Manning.
Vito, what do you got?
I'd rather face Peyton Manning. And I understand why people would, if you're a defensive coordinator, I just go back into the teams and I always think about who are the players that lined up with Peyton Manning. You're talking about Reggie Waynes. You're talking about Marvin Harrison. Then you had Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders on the Broncos. Who was the good tight end that he had on the
Dallas
Colts?
Clark.
Dallas Clark. I just go back to that and I was like,
Edgerrin James.
Edgerrin James as your running back. I forget who the running back was on the Broncos, but he was a pretty good running back as well.
Tim Tebow.
And I always say, with that cast, you would say Peyton Manning is way harder to go and game plan against, but that's because of his cast. When Tom Brady didn't have a cast, who was his best wide receiver when he won the first 3 Super Bowls?
Deion Branch.
And this is what I'm trying to say. Tom Brady would make a nobody into a somebody more than Peyton Manning would make a nobody into a somebody.
One word, I slightly disagree with you because of one word, Omaha, and what that meant to defenders. And Peyton being able to see shit and change shit on the fly, I think that's more of what they're speaking about as far as the game
and
plan.
I get that. But what I'm thinking is sometimes Omaha didn't really matter. With Tom Brady, all he kept on doing was against the Falcons in the Super Bowl. He just kept on dumping it. He's like, all right, this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna win.
The Falcons beat their own ass.
Listen, they still had to score.
Beat their own
they still
asses.
had to score another 30 points, close to 30 points to win.
Kidding me?
In the fourth
They was
quarter, by the
already
way.
setting up the clubs in Atlanta. Bro, I was talking to people. They was putting the velvet ropes and the red carpet out at the clubs, AK?
Oh, Magic City would have been crazy.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that, with once you got Peyton Manning, you got him. Once you figured him out, you got him. You can't do that with Brady. You got to play Brady till the last freaking second. That's why I'd rather face a Peyton Manning, because if I got him in the second quarter, I feel like I got him for the. You got Tom Brady in the second quarter, you're not going to get him in the third and fourth quarter. Look what almost happened in the Bucs versus the Rams. He almost brought them back. They weren't supposed to be in that game till the end, and they almost won. You don't get that with Peyton Manning, man. You didn't get that
I'm
with
gonna
Peyton
go
Manning much.
with. I'm gonna lean. So I'm not really pick. I'm gonna lean towards wanting to face Peyton Manning. I've seen Peyton Manning get hit, and in the end, the game's not be the same quarterback. Right?
Man.
I've never
Hit Brady
seen
once.
Tom Brady get hit and change who he was. That ice in his veins.
That's the formula to beat Brady is hit him,
Fourth
and
quarter.
then you.
Yeah, the
Yo,
Giants
he
did it
hates
twice.
That's how the
quarter.
Giants won 2 Super Bowls. They hit him.
Mike, nah, that's
Right.
only after Peyton got hurt, man.
Fourth quarter.
Brady gets mad and wants to take the Rolex that he just bought for the O-line back
Yup.
when he gets fucking sacked, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not even taking that. Absolutely. My thing is this, yo. I've been able to see Tom need ice in his veins more often than I need to see Peyton with ice in his veins.
That's
Therefore,
fact.
it's the only reason why I'm going with Brady.
That's fact.
And
I
Tom
can't
Brady
disagree.
ended Little John's career because I haven't heard no music since they lost the Super Bowl.
Yay!
You need the Little John's love. That's what he should have played when he played.
That's what I was looking for. I was looking for that one.
But the gun played well into it because it was AK talking. So
Exactly.
You got to give Atlanta. Shout out to Atlanta. Ludacris got more kids than the Patriots got players.
He's got a ludicrous amount of kids. All right, so check this out, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming out week in, week out, commenting, downloading our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, Amazon, and taking us with you throughout the week if you can't catch us live. We got some people that I want to give a shout out to that are constantly here. Sean, thank you. Usman at the very beginning. I want to thank Jen. This has been season 2, and this is the Sports is My Love Language podcast. Yo, you'll see us in a couple of weeks. We'll be putting out announcements. We're going to come out with some hot new topics. Football season's coming around the corner, NBA draft. There's a lot of stuff coming our way, but we'll be taking a couple of weeks off. And when we come back, we're going to come back fresh, and we're going to come back hot like we have been. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you. First and foremost, let me go around the room. I want to say, P. Pablo, my man, thank you always for showing up. Appreciate it. My man, AK, you're the man. Major Money always with the good takes. And my man Javito, not afraid to tell her what's on his mind. Anybody want to say goodbye to anybody real quick since we're taking a little break?
Yeah, I want to say rest in peace to my brother Fatin who passed this past week. He was on the thing, and just love to all the family.
Man, our sincerest condolences, man. Seriously.
I heard Tony Siragusa passed away.
Yo, Terry Saragusa, yeah, passed away, yeah.
We're losing a lot of good ones, man.
That's a shame. All right. Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been season 2 of the Sports is My Love Language podcast. I'm your boy Dropping Dimes, and we are out of here. Take it easy.